but we'll grab all 8 of these lights. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'm going to hold down Alt and Shift, and we'll drag these right over to our other set of lights as well. So now those are automatically lit, and that was nice and easy. Okay, let's jump back over to perspective, and we'll switch to lit mode. And now the room looks a whole lot brighter. But again, remember, this is just an approximation, or an approximation.
Yeah, go ahead and hit rebuild, and let's talk about that for a second.
About approximation?
That's right. So as that goes through here and rebuilds everything real quick, we'll talk about why I'm unable to say the word approximation. There you go.
There you go. You got it.
But don't worry, that's only going to happen once. If I have to say it again, I'm sure I'm going to throw 3 or 4 Z's in there.
Probably.
I don't know what's up with that. Now, actually, it was a good idea for Zach to go ahead and rebuild here because we've duplicated off so many lights that the approximation. Told you. The approximation that we have going on in the level right now is really blown out of perspective.
That's right.
We no longer have a good idea of what's taking place. So once this is rebuilt, it's going to look, well, much better because it's going to be our actual lighting. So you'll notice, though, that we have increased our rebuild time because, well, we've added in a bunch more lights. And here we go. It's actually jamming a lot faster than we originally thought it was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
As the room gets silent.
Yeah, it's don't worry, guys. Your video hasn't cut off or anything.
That's right. We're just staring.
There we go. Nice. So we can close this out. And this is what the lighting is actually starting to look like. I think maybe that these, for just what these guys are, because, that's what, a candle in a box. I think it's lighting that back wall just a little bit much.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what I'm going to do to fix that.
Select them all at the same time.
Well, sort of, but that's only part of the battle. We're going to come in here and select all of these. So, yeah, we do want to select everybody. Hang on. That's only part of the battle.
Well, I didn't say what else you were going to do. I just said select all of them.
I know. All right. Now, before I even affect anything, though, this looks like the kind of selection that would come in really handy. It would be very nice to be able to grab all of the lights that are around these little lamps at any given time. So I'm going to go back up into my browser window by clicking on the Open Generic Browser button at the top of the toolbar. And let's jump over to the Groups tab, or the Groups browser. And we're going to go under Edit and create a new group with the selection that we have. And we're going to call this, let's say, Floor Lights. And check it out. If I click on the floor lights, which just appeared here in the left column, we get all of these lights. So it's a nice way to keep them all organized and keep track of everything that we have. But there's something else kind of cool about it, too. And that is, once I get done with these, once I'm happy with them, I can hit this little checkbox and make them disappear. They're still emitting light, but we don't see them anymore. The other really cool thing about this, though, is that with this group in place, if I select floor lights, I can go under Edit, and I can choose Select Actors, and I can grab all of those at once.
Very handy.
Yeah, it's a lot better than having to go and click on them all at the same time.
Right.
All right, now let's hit F4 to open up the Properties window. Might have to nudge my viewport before it'll read, but there we are. And let's start by bringing down our radius. We saw that 512 was a little bit too far in. I mean, we could try
how about,
it.
For
720?
Me, no, instead of radius, how about let's just crank up the fall off? Yeah.
We can. The only thing I'm concerned about, and I'll just, is that radius kicks out so far beyond our back wall that we just really have to crank that to make it work.
Take the fall off up to even 8, and that's going to really start to bring it into a much tighter area.
And it does. I like that multiple shadow back there behind the dragon.
Yeah, it looks nice. Cool. So you could take that, even if you wanted to, you could even go up to 10, rebuild, and see how dark that's going to be off there in the back.
All right, well, hang on. Let me do the radius just once.
Okay.
We don't have to keep it. I just want to show them that...
we just showed it a minute ago.
All right, fine.
But you can if you want to.
Okay. You convinced me. All right, let's do 16. We'll just double that.
Okay.
And that's more like what I'm looking for. I want to see that back wall starting to fall more and more into shadow.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's looking pretty good. Now, again, the cool thing about that is...
While you're explaining, let's go ahead and do a rebuild. So
Sure.
we can explain while it's rebuilding, and then they'll be able to see the accurate lighting.
Sure. The nice thing about having all those lights selected was that inside the Properties window, I can affect them all at the same time, which is really nice for a setup like this, where you want a nice uniform set of properties between all of your lights.
Without a doubt.
And this is going to take a little bit. So.
Oh, not too much time. Just give it a second. Probably about 40 seconds, and I'm sure we can come up with a thing or two to talk about. We will, of course, be adding in 6 more lights in this room, as we do have those lights hanging from the ceiling, so we'll be taking those into account.
Actually, be a lot more than 6. We're going to do something very similar to what we did here with these light boxes.
Are you going to put them on each side of those? Oh, well, there you go.
I just kind of prefer it. You don't really have to. It's just something that I kind of like doing, because you can control the lighting on each side of it, but...
Okay.
And I don't know what else to say.
So how about that weather today?
The weather's pretty good. We could go back into your pronunciation of approximation.
No, I think we've beat that one to death.
Approximization.
Yeah, something
start
like
adding
that.
more syllables to it.
Generally, just a bunch of Z's. That's all.
And we're almost done. There we go.
Okay.
All right, so this is what our lighting actually. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I want that back wall to be really, really dark, almost like it's just eating up the light. Okay, so let's see. Maybe I'll change my tactics just a little bit, just for you guys to show you something different. We could put a light into each one of these meshes, but there's certain things we need to consider if we do that. Let's hold down the L key, and I'll click here on the wall, and it'll create a new light, which, of course, by default is going to be white in color, and that doesn't really work for us. And gigantic. But these particular meshes aren't emitting, is it emitting shadows? It looks like, yeah, our light might have disappeared when it got inside there. So this guy could be casting, yeah, he is. You see the actual lamp mesh is casting shadows? So if I put a light in here, we get no light whatsoever. It's kind of like turning on a light bulb but putting it into a cardboard box.
Right.
Now you have some options here. You could put lights all the way around this mesh if you wanted to, just like we did over here with these guys. Or as an option, we could open up the properties of this static mesh, expand static mesh actor, and scroll down to its lighting section, and we could turn off its ability to cast shadows. And now light goes right through it, which is kind of a nice little feature. Now with that, we can jump back over to our light, which is still a little big, but
it's just a little. But I know it makes it easier to see and move around.
It makes it easier for us to select it if we need to later, because it is now inside of a mesh.
We're more interested in that pivot point.
So let's begin with light color, and we'll make this, again, probably some shade of orange. Just as a point, though, we could close the color chooser, and we have this other little button for use mouse to pick color from viewport, and we could click here, say, on this orange section, and that'll give us an orange light. And you know what? Did you see what I just did? I changed the mod shadow color instead of the light color.
You did.
Oh, well, we'll just change that, too. We don't really need the mod shadow color. In fact, just on principle, I'll put that back on black.
Okay.
Okay, so now we have a nice orange light. I am going to change radius on this one.
Okay.
Just on principle. So we'll pull this down to, I think 512 might work because it's halfway along the wall already. But make sure you pull back and get an idea of how far out that light's going. It's just barely making it to the opposite wall, which is fine for us because we have some other lights that are going to be put over here as well. So I think that'll work out well. I might kick up my fall off exponent though, because I'm a big fan of bringing that down. I almost never leave it just at 2. Let's try 4. It didn't even pick up. There we go. And there you go. It's really tightening up that light just to that one lamp, and I really like that. Now, real quick, before we do anything else with these lights, let's take all of these static meshes, all at once.
And make sure that none of them cast shadows.
That's right. We'll press F4, scroll down, and grab that cast shadow property and turn that off. Now, with that done, I can grab this light, hold down Alt, and drag a copy over here into his next door neighbor. And then hold down Alt and drag another copy as well. Select all 3 of these lights. Let's go into the top view and go into brush wire frame mode. And we'll just drag these right across the room and put them inside the opposite lights. Now we'll go back into perspective, check out lit mode. And there we go. We probably would want to build this and see what it looks like. But already, even with the approximation, I'm really liking the general feel that we're getting. So what I will do, though, before we do anything else, is we will select each one of these lights. So I have all 6 of these selected. Let's go back into our group browser. And we'll create a new group. And let's call this
Hanging Lights.
Hanging Lights. I like it. There we go. So we have access to those should we ever need them all at once. And I think that's going to pretty much wrap up the lighting for this room. One more thing I would like to mention, though. You'll notice at the very beginning I disabled this light. You could delete this light if you really, really wanted to. But I do want you to keep one very important thing in mind, and that is that Unreal Engine 3 doesn't calculate bouncing light.
That's right.
You know, if you go into your bedroom and you have just a single flashlight and you point it at the ceiling, you don't just see the ceiling light up. You know, the whole room in general is going to light up unless you have your ceiling painted with black felt or something. But that's because that light is hitting all of your surfaces and it's bouncing around in a whole bunch of different directions, giving you sort of a global illumination or an ambient lighting effect. We can reuse this work light to give us a bit of an ambient light effect. And I'm going to go ahead and do that here, and then if we don't like it, we always kill it later. But always, the general idea would be to keep an effect like this very soft. What I'm going to do is turn off shadows for this. Now, why am I doing that? That's because I don't want this ambient light to be stopped by anything. For example, like, you know, if you have I'm trying to come up with a really good example. Maybe behind these pillars. Just because maybe no light is going right here behind this pillar, that doesn't mean light wouldn't hit this wall over here